Okay, now we're going to talk about three concepts that are perhaps a little confusing. I want to make sure I know that the Apex course describes them, but I want to make sure you understand the subtle differences among them. Okay, so the three are the base rate fallacy, the representativeness heuristic, and the confirmation bias. So let's look at each one of these separately. Sorry, a little technical problem there. Okay, so you have this, you probably came across this, or you will come across this in the Apex unit. They ask you to match these two, and you might think, the confirmation bias one is the easiest to isolate, and confirmation bias is the last one about Annie. The Tim in the press club and the chess club is hard, and it's a subtle difference. But if you think about it, you are looking at the taking individual pieces of information they have, just a very little bit, and making a judgment based on what little piece of information you have. That's base rate fallacy. That person is not taking into account other information that's out there that's more general. So base rate, Tim, who's in the press club, is boring. So everyone in the press club is, I don't know why I keep saying chess club must be boring. So that's the match for base rate fallacy. Representativeness heuristic, Tim is in the chess club and everyone I know in the chess club is boring, so Tim must be boring. They have a stereotype of what kind of person is in the chess club, and then they make a decision about Tim based on that. They have a large stereotype. Whereas with the base rate, they just think in terms of what they know about Tim, and so they think he's boring, and so therefore the whole chess club is boring. You see how the two are different. So here's the answer. And this was tricky, so I just want to re-explain it, so make sure you got it. Confirmation bias is the easy one in terms of the three of them. Our tendency to search for information that confirms our personal biases. So you think a person is a liar, so you look for evidence of lying every time you talk with that person that you think is a liar. A doctor knows a lot about a certain disease, his specialty. So he notices symptoms of this disease a lot in his patients because he's biased to notice that. And it's not conscious unless he thinks about it and recognizes confirmation bias. And then he's much more likely to notice, oh, I gotta be careful. That's my specialty. I'm over noticing that. I'm noticing it because that's what I want to notice or do notice. I can't help it unless I am careful. You watch TV news only listening for information that supports your current political opinions, and you don't even allow yourself much to take in the opposite opinions. And so you don't challenge your own thinking. Okay, so that's confirmation bias. Base rate fallacy, again, is you are ignoring broader statistical information in favor of using irrelevant information that one incorrectly believes is relevant. Okay, so making a judgment about the chess club based on one person you know, this usually stems from the irrational belief that statistics don't apply to a situation for one reason or another, when, in fact, of course, they do. So let's look at this little example. Steve is shy. Is Steve a salesperson or a librarian? Well, you have this idea in your head that's like not founded on much of anything, that librarians are shy. You don't know where you get it. So even though it's much more likely among all the people who are, tend to be shy, that salespeople would be your people for this. But you don't see that. You can only see that because you know one person who's shy, that librarians are shy. And that's all. You can't get beyond your specific piece of information. Representative heuristic is different. So here's a good one. Representativeness heuristic involves the idea that we are stereotyping. So you meet Jim, and he's tall and he's muscular and he's very competitive. He drives an expensive car and wears flashy clothing. You think he's a professional athlete. And in fact, he's a lawyer. People predict Jim as a professional athlete because he's similar to stereotype of a professional athlete. Because there are many more lawyers and financial analysts than there are athletes. So the likelihood that he's an athlete is not that great. It's much smaller. So we do that really quickly. You see there's a subtle difference between those two. So again, events that are more representative are regarded as more probable. So if we see the guy in the flashy car with the athletic build, we're going to jump on the stereotype before we're going to notice, well, that doesn't really make sense statistically, because there's all sorts of other people who would meet that criteria, who are probably much more likely to be that person, because there's far more lawyers and financial analysts. So how are they different? Again, with base rate fallacy, a person looks at some specific information and then makes a judgment about a person or event, ignoring the broader facts, the broader statistics, because they're not specific. And we somehow, as human beings, we like specific stuff, and we don't look at what we know about general population. We don't look at facts. We look at the specific case. With representativeness heuristic, we judge an event using a stereotype. So you see the difference? From that person makes a judgment. So again, here's the question they had in the Apex. Take a minute to see if you can figure it out now. And so base rate is number 1. Tim, who's in the chess club, is boring. So everyone in the chess club must be boring. Going with the specific one thing we know, and then applying it to the whole group of the chess club. Okay. And then representativeness is the stereotype one. Tim is in the chess club, and everyone I know in the chess club is boring. So there's the stereotype. So Tim must be boring. Okay, there you have it. So I hope that helped. And it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, so study it a few times. It'll really help you grasp it. Okay.